there. It's me, Joe Pasevich, and the lighting is a little bit strange in the studio today, if you noticed that. We were just joking that the lighting looks like we're shooting an episode of Dark Shadows. But to tell you the truth, there is a problem with the lighting in the studio today. Some lights are working, some are not working. And apparently, the problem is inside a circuit breaker in the wall over here. But there's a faulty latch or something, and nobody can seem to get at it. And the schools are on vacation, and I don't know where the facilities man is, but well, we'll do what we can, okay? Just dim the lights, pour yourself a drink, and enjoy another episode of Control Room. It is Wednesday, April 23rd. The month is flying by. And to get you in the mood for another episode of Control Room, and we do have a special guest, by the way. Christine Hill is with us today from Duxbury Substack. There she is, very much in the dark. Oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
We better. It's like she's in the witness protection program. Okay, so because she's got some really controversial and risky things to talk about, and we don't want her to be spotted. But anyway, but you know the lesson of Control Room is, if you want to understand what's going on in town, just look at what's going on in the world, and vice versa. Christine Hill is a world traveler, an international journalist. She can help us shed light on that, and she can bring that message home to Control Room and its viewers. We're going to try to get you lightened up a little bit there. Maybe there's a flashlight in my truck or something. We can get that, or like, how about a couple of candles? No, you can't have open flames in the studio. How about a reflector board? We got to come up with something. One of the monitors actually doesn't look that bad. But again, the lesson of Control Room is if you want to understand what's going on internationally, look what's happened locally and vice versa, okay? And at the same time, look at that. What an innovator here. She's using her cell phone spotlight. But yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe there's a stand somewhere. Also, and that goes for gaslighting, okay? Gaslighting happens on a big international scale, just as it happens on a local scale. And to get you in the mood, okay, to get you in the right frame of mind, because we got a lot of gaslighting to report tonight, I'm going to show you a clip of our esteemed junior senator. Let's run that clip.
Do you regret saying that President Biden had a mental acuity? He had a sharpness to him. You said that up until July of last year.
I said what I believe to be true.
And you think he was as sharp as you?
I said I had not seen decline. And I hadn't at that point.
You did not see any decline from 2024 Joe Biden to 2021 Joe Biden?
Not when I said that. You know, the thing is, he was sharp. He was on his feet. I saw him. Live event. I had meetings with him a couple of times.
Senator, on his feet is not praise. He can speak in sentences is not praise.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Amazing. The bottom line is she's just following the party line, okay? That's it. In other words, she can't be honest, okay? It's like saying Mike Maresco was a good administrator, and we're all happy to have worked with him, and we're all so thankful and for the experience of 7 years of Mike Maresco, but there's no truth. Nobody can tell the truth, okay? Anyway, with that said, I want to remind people that change is in the air. There is an election coming up, okay? There is an election coming up, and there is a town meeting. And if you want to affect change and you want to hold your officials accountable, wouldn't it be nice if we could have Elizabeth Warren in this studio, right? Miss Warren, you're welcome to come anytime, all right? You may have to get in line behind Ken Sweezy and Pat O'Connor, but you're welcome to come in anytime. This is your moment, my fellow citizens. You're in the spotlight. Star of the day, who will it be? At town meeting, we'll see. It's up to you to get in the queue and ask a question for the day. There it is. The election is Saturday, May 3rd, 9 to 4. The hours are limited. Okay, now listen, if you can't get there, you're working, you're going to work before 9, you're not getting home till after 4, or you're going to be out of town, you may go to the town clerk's office and fill out a form that says, I want an absentee ballot. Okay? You can have the ballot mailed to your house, or you can bring this in, or you can get one, walk into the clerk's office, fill it out. Right there, they'll give you a ballot. You'll sit down after they verify that you are who you are, or a reasonable facsimile thereof. And you can fill out a ballot, put it in an envelope, which then is supposed to be sealed. Make sure the envelope is sealed, okay? And you have voted. Therefore, if you can't get to the polls between the hours of 9 and 4, do it now. Do it, this is Wednesday. You can do it Thursday, basically 9 to 5, 9 to 4. Thursday. You can do it 9 to 12:30 on Friday. Okay? All next week you can vote. The main thing is that your ballot is filled out and it's received by the town clerk's office at Town Hall by 4 o'clock on Saturday, and your vote will count. Do not, this is your responsibility. So again, town meeting is coming up. Here it is again, Monday, April 28th at the high school. We're talking, there's budget items in there. There's a lot of really juicy stuff, which we'll go into some more detail in the next show. And the election, again, Saturday, May the 3rd. Speaking of the election, here's what the ballot looks like. This is a shrunken down version of the ballot. You can see it says, like I took a copy of the ballot that's on the town hall website and I just shrunk it down onto this paper. And this is the early absentee official ballot, but all the slots in here are the same. You have Board of Assessors, uncontested, Board of Health, uncontested, Board of Public Works, uncontested, Board of Selectmen, Lynn Fidler versus Patricia Simpson, okay? Planning Board, uncontested. School Committee, there are 3 people running for 2 seats, so that is technically contested. You got 2 incumbents running for re-election, and you've got Lara Brait and Richard Greer, they're both incumbents. And you have Scott Swain, who's a newcomer to the field. He's a very bright guy. I enjoyed talking to him a couple weeks ago. And then you have trustees of Veterans Memorials. You can vote for 2 of them, and there's only uncontested 2 people. Trustees of Veterans Memorials, the veteran slot, uncontested. Trustees of Veterans Memorials, veteran, uncontested. So the only contested races are Select Board, and you notice it says Board of Selectmen. You know, I don't know how that happened. How did the ballot, the sample ballot, get printed to read Board of Selectmen? Do you know what a Board of Selectmen is?
Man?
Yeah, Board of Selectmen. Board of Select, are you bored of the Selectman? Man to man, he's a select man.
I thought they changed it so it was the select board.
Exactly. So why does it say Board of Selectmen? You know, and then the school committee. So those are the 2 contested races. But if, I don't know who's responsible for printing that, or if this is just something that was made up. Now at the bottom is the ballot question. There's an override on the ballot on May 3rd. And what it is that we joined the South Shore Vocational Technical School District. So now Marshfield residents belong to two, not one, but two school boards in one. No. So we belong to 2 school boards. We belong to the Marshfield School District, and we belong to the South Shore Vocational Technical School District. We voted to join it. Okay. Then in January, we voted to authorize the South Shore Vocational School District to enter into borrowing money. Go borrow some money to build a new school. It's going to cost like $270 million plus. Over $100 million of that will be paid for by the state. It's still your money, it's just out of a different pocket. And the rest of it gets split up between, 9 towns. Marshfield is probably the biggest town. Our share is going to be the biggest. So we voted to authorize them to go ahead with the school project in our vote on January 25th. It was like 3-1 in favor. Because nobody's against vocational education, right? You want your daughter to be a cosmetologist, et cetera, et cetera. But technically what has to happen is that the voters, you have to authorize the borrowing of that money, because we don't have it all in our pocket right now. So what they're saying is that we're going to have to borrow some money at some point to pay for that new school. It's going to be like over almost $1 million and 1.3 or $1.4 million per year for 30 years. That's Marshfield's share. So you have to vote yes or no. Should we raise extra taxes on top of the taxes that are pouring in now to Marshfield Town Hall? Should we raise extra taxes? In other words, send you an extra bill. Should we do that? Yes or no? It's up to you. Now, here's the argument. We've had really healthy surpluses over the last, I don't know how many, multiple years. And we're looking at likely surpluses again for the next year or two. And if you take the money that we're going to be paying, what it's going to cost the town of Marshfield to pay to the school district to take in students that are now going there, and if you take the money that's needed to start the school building project and borrowing, we have enough money. We don't need an override. The argument is that you should vote no on this because we don't need an override right now. There's just no sign of it. There's enough money in the town's coffers and projected to be coming in, the way it looks right now, that this year we don't need an override. So if you want to forestall an extra tax bill, I personally think that we're still in sort of a recovery mode. And I think that we probably will need an override down the road for paying for this school, especially when the number of students boosts up. The more students we send from Marshfield to South Shore Vocational Tech, the more we're going to be charged. It's to the tune of like 18 or 19,000 plus per student. The number of students we sent this year to South Shore Vocational Tech School, the bill is $710,000. But the way we pay for our students is we pay them a year late. So although we incurred $710,000 worth of expenses for the Marshfield kids that went to South Shore Voc Tech this year, ending in like a month, the school year ending in about a month, we incurred a bill of $710,000. Guess what? The way it's structured in the South Shore Voc Tech system, we pay that next year. And that was part of the problem we had at the recent select board, advisory board meetings, was that we couldn't see the $710,000 in the budget that was being laid out before us. And we were asking, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? In fact, it has to be a separate line item by law inside the warrant. You have a budget right there for the school department. There has to be a separate line that says South Shore Vocational Tech School District, $710,000, plus some change for some administrative fees and stuff like that. So right now, I would recommend a no vote on that. It's not a vote against South Shore Voc Tech. It's just that we have plenty of money right now, basically, and into the near future. So I'm not looking for an increase in my tax bill right now. And that's the election. By the way, also you notice on the ballot there is no slot for the Housing Authority. The Housing Authority has 5 members. 1 is appointed, 4 are elected. 1 is elected basically by the residents, because they have to have a representative of the residents be on the Housing Authority board. And then 3 are elected at large in the town. But there are 5 members, each one, whether you're appointed or elected or nominated, you serve for 5 years. That means each year somebody is up for re-election or reappointment. Each year. Each person serves a 5-year term. There are 5 members, therefore each year somebody comes up. Well, there was supposed to be somebody on the ballot this year for the Housing Authority. And it was the seat that was previously held by Kevin Cantwell. His seat comes up for re-election this year, 2025, and it's not on there. Why is that? Well, let's see what happened. The select board's job is to create this ballot, this warrant, just as it's the select board's job to put together the warrant for the town meeting. The town clerk went to a select board meeting and said, here's the ballot. Now you guys have to vote to approve it. So the select board, instead of taking it on and really understanding the process, they were taking the word of the town clerk when she went to describe to them what the ballot was going to look like. Eric Kelly, being the only cognizant and conscious person on the select board right now, was the one that asked the question, Miss Town Clerk, what happened to the housing authority? Aren't we supposed to have a race for housing authority? Again, Eric Kelly, the only person with like the gumption, right? The curiosity, the intelligence to ask what happened to the housing authority race. And this is, I think I have a clip of what happened when I went to that.
When you were going through this, does this support your argument that you shared
it
with the
does.
board? Okay,
Lynn.
that's pretty much what I'm getting at.
So if you go to page, okay, if you actually just go to page 2, it says notwithstanding the chapter, blah, 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 blah. It says 3 members of the authority shall be appointed immediately by the Board of Selectmen to serve only until the qualification of their successors. It says not more than 5 names, just keep.
Hold on,
skip-
Nerys.
Yep. What's
Can
wrong,
you-
honey?
I'm trying to find where you're at here.
On page 2,
All right, I got 2, yep.
just go to just do numbers, it's easier that way.
It's gonna say
Okay,
not-
3 members shall be elected by the town, provided that the members originally elected at annual town meeting, the candidate who receives the highest numbers of votes shall serve for 5 years. Candidate who receives the next highest numbers of votes shall serve for 4 years, blah. All right, so basically what it's saying is that each person serves an alternate number of years. So 5 years, 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, 1 year. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
Okay, so the thing is that, so we needed to follow that pattern. But what screwed us up is that Mrs. Bennett, you have a list, should have a notation in here, Mrs. Bennett screwed us up because Mrs. Bennett is the application for the tenant, the housing authority tenant representative, which is the reorg by the state. The state decided that one of those people who is representing the housing authority had to be somebody who actually lived in the housing, which makes a lot of sense. So they assigned somebody to that, but it screws up our order. Also included in this little pile that I gave you is a notice that you will note is Carrie Richardson's appointment by the governor to this board. You'll notice that that actually expired in 2018. The governor's council is the one that actually gives the appointments to that board. They've not appointed anyone since 2018. So every single housing authority board who has a member that's been appointed by the governor's council has allowed that member to ride, if that member has been willing to ride. And the governor's council has not appointed anyone else to any housing authority. Mr. Richardson has been willing to stay on the board all of this time. So he's continuing to serve on the board of the housing authority. So his seat is not a consecutive seat. So my job, should I choose to accept it, is to make sure that everybody is staggered. And if you look at now, yet another way that I could choose to do this is I can go by votes. And if you look at the election results that I gave you from the town election, you will note that Mr. Daley got 2,605 votes and Ms. Delgadillo got 2,601 votes. So I could actually give more years to Mr. Daley and less years to Ms. Delgadillo. But I would prefer to just have them sit down and duke it out themselves. I think arm wrestling would be good. So, in any event, I think that, I don't like making decisions like that. I don't think that I think that, they're the adults in the room and I'm me, and they should decide what's best for the housing authority and themselves.
Okay, so
And,
moving forward,
Ms. Chairman.
no, sir,
May I
no,
please speak?
no,
I'm
sir.
from the Housing
No.
Authority, And this is all wrong, completely wrong.
I talked to town council about it, I talked to the
And
elections
town
division
council-
about it, and the elections division agrees with town council that this is the way to move forward.
That is not true.
That is true.
I have all the documents, and you are absolutely wrong.
Okay.
This is just being made up.
Joe, you have a right to be here, but you don't have a right to disrupt a public
Well,
meeting.
I think the
So-
chairperson should recognize me because I'm an authority on this very matter.
You think you are, but you're not, Joe. And if you're gonna keep disrupting the meeting, you can leave. You don't have a right to disrupt a public meeting.
Are
You can be
running the
here.
meeting?
Joe, you do
Are you
not,
running the meeting?
Joe, I am running the meeting.
Right, and I'm asking.
So
you to speak now.
I am not giving you the recognition to speak.
And so I talked to the Secretary of State's office. I talked to the town clerk. We all know, as far as I know, talking to the Secretary of State's office, their attorney, the clerk is wrong. She's wrong, right? Well, where did she get the idea that the council agrees with the Secretary of State's office? It's just like, is this just a fabrication or what? And Lynn Fiddler just swallows it hook, line, and sinker. Oh, it's okay. If it's okay with you, it's okay with me. Talk about, and every chairman of every board has the power and the right and the duty to recognize somebody that can contribute information to help resolve an issue. And Lynn Fiddler, for all her talk about transparency, wow. Now, I went to the Housing Authority meeting on April 1st, and I raised this issue with my fellow board members. Listen to what the chairman's reaction is. When I say,
They list the board of commissioners, the 5 current sitting commissioners, including the 10th rep and the state appointee, and they list the terms. The terms I'm having a real hard time understanding, because the state appointee term is listed as 2013 to 2018.
Yes.
My term is correct, from 2023 to 2028. Cecilia's term is listed as expiring last year. John Daly's term is listed as expiring last year. And Helen's term is listed as expiring in August this year. So a lot of that doesn't make sense. And for example, according to the laws and regulations, one seat comes up for reappointment or reelection each year. And each seat is a 5-year term. And so again, my term is correct, May 2023 to May 2028, that is correct. The other ones really don't make sense. And I took the liberty of doing some checking, looking at past town reports. I also contacted the Secretary of State's office, Elections Division, and I also talked to the town clerk. So I've done a lot of research, and there should have been an election this year for Housing Authority Commissioner. I think the town clerk, from what I've heard, admits the mistake, and they would like to remedy that, possibly by scheduling an election for that seat. I don't know when. But this list of terms is messed up. It's just not, it's not correct.
So, this is out of the scope of our meeting, but I will indicate that I've also spoken to the town clerk, who has spoken to the state election office, town council has been involved, and they are resolving it. So I think that we'll leave it at that.
there's the chairman, Kerry Richardson's response to this dilemma. We'll leave it at that. They're aware of we'll leave it at that. That's it. That's your chairman of the Housing Authority. That's what I'm up against. And that's why you might guess they would not want somebody on the board like me who asks questions. And how do you do that? Well, one way would be to not even have an election. You think? Maybe like that? And Lynn, who's all for transparency and who wants people to speak up at meetings. What did she say at the debate last night? Did you hear that?
We have offered a policy of public comment to our town select board, and that was initiated last year at the request of one of our citizens in our public town meeting, and it was a petition. So I looked at that, took a really hard look at it, talked to other members of our select board from previous years in other towns and decided to move forward. So that's an opportunity to create transparency.
Okay.
So much for transparency, right? And but what was Lynn's reaction when I wanted to give them the information they needed to make an educated decision on this ballot? What was Lynn's reaction? How did she shut me down? And how did Darcy shut me down? You can see it for yourself. I think we have that with Darcy, with Lynn speaking out and Darcy chiming in. Do we have that clip? Yeah, maybe that's the one.
I think that, they're the adults in the room, and I'm me, and they should decide what's best for the housing authority and themselves.
Okay, so
And,
moving forward,
Ms. Chairman.
no, sir,
May I
no,
please speak up
no,
on the
sir.
Housing
No.
Authority? And this is all wrong, completely wrong.
I talked to town council about it, I talked to the
And
elections
town
division
council-
about it, and the elections division agrees with town council that this is the way to move forward.
That is not true.
That is true.
I have all the documents and you are absolutely wrong.
Okay.
This is just being made up.
Joe, you have a right to be here, but you don't have a right to disrupt a public
Well,
meeting.
I think the
So-
person should recognize me because I'm an authority on this very matter.
You think you are, but you're not, Joe. And if you're gonna keep disrupting the meeting, you can leave. You don't have a right to disrupt a public meeting.
Are
You can be
running the
here.
meeting?
Joe, you do
Are you
not,
running the meeting?
Joe, I am running the meeting.
Right, and I'm asking.
So
you-
I am not giving you the recognition to speak.
That's right. And Steve Darcy can be very judgmental, he can be very judgmental. Remember what happened at town meeting when a lot of residents were really kind of a little bit perturbed about the way things were going in town hall. And what did Steve Darcy do? He didn't like the way it was going, and the votes weren't going Steve Darcy's and the insiders' way, were they? Steve wasn't happy with that, was he? He needed to admonish us. He needed to berate us. He needed to scold us for being bad people.
A lot of the behavior the first night of town meeting I found to be an absolute embarrassment for our town. We had grown adults who were screaming at the top of their lungs to the point where additional town meeting attendees across the hall in the gymnasium could hear them. And there's absolutely no excuse for that kind of behavior. And I'd also like to point out, too, that we had scouts in attendance to earn their merit badge by watching town meeting, and they were infinitely better behaved and more professional than a lot of the adults who spoke that night. Now, do you think the scouts sitting there were inspired to get involved in the future for the town based on what they witnessed? I can't imagine that they were.
Now, see, Steve is a big inspiration. Would you agree, Christine Hill, that Steve is a big inspiration?
Well, Steve was a big inspiration for me to write him a letter about drunk driving.
Really?
Yes. See, I don't know if you guys know, but I was in the class of 1985 in Duxbury. And a lot of older people and a lot of younger people around the South Shore know that that was the class in which 3 students died in 3 separate drunk driving accidents. They were Don Scabetta, Tracy Arsenal, and Brett Barkley. Okay, so I'm going to have a hard time with this. As I said, I grew up in Duxbury, and if any of you have seen the Robin Young special that is often used in drunk driving, be aware, don't drunk drive lessons, I'm on the special along with my father. And so we had a real problem. We had, you would, if you look back at from the 70s and the 80s, that's my dad up there. If you look up from the 70s and the 80s at the police reports, we would have like 78 drunk driving citations in Duxbury over a year. But the truth was that we had dozens of people driving around drunk every night, and we didn't have a professionalized police force where everybody had standardized training. And my classmates would be stopped for drunk driving, given a warning, and then they would just drive off home, okay? So it was a real problem. And my father, as principal of a high school, he would try to impose penalties on kids, and the school committee that was then in charge of They could overrule the principal at that time. They would overrule him. And so there was like no punishment for anybody for drunk driving. It was really bad. So I heard about Stephen Darcy's drunk driving arrest, and I was upset about, and I have to tell you, I think he should resign. I don't think that somebody who behaves like that should be in public office. So I wrote him a note. Dear Stephen, following your drunk driving arrest, enroll into a police cruiser in Duxbury. Why haven't you resigned from the Marshfield Select Board? And then I said, when I was growing up, drunk driving was rampant in Duxbury among both teenagers and adults. We lost so many high school students, including 3 from my graduating class, Tracy Arsenal, Dawn Scabetta, and Brett Barkley. To stop this problem, my father, who was the high school principal, brought in every expert he could find, lobbied the governor to raise the drinking age, lobbied lawmakers to keep school committees out of disciplinary decisions, and worked with others in Duxbury to professionalize the police force so they would enforce drunk driving laws. Still, to deal with the trauma of watching all those kids die, my dad wrote poetry and was haunted by what happened. What do you have to say for yourself? And I just want to say before I go to the next part, my father wrote a poem, which I couldn't find today, about how he had to go and plant a tree every time a kid died. It was just, it was awful. They finally solved the problem when they got a professionalized police force. And they took the, they raised the drinking age, and they took, the school committee can't interfere with discipline anymore. So anyway, this is how your select board member, your vice chair, and the upholder of morality in Marshfield replied to me. First off, Christine, I hope you are doing well since you are sending emails after midnight. I want to confirm that this is the correct Christine Hill I'm thinking about, who lives in Duxbury but appears to be obsessed with me and all things Marshfield based on your social media activity. Okay, and so then he included a post that I live with my parents. I do. My dad was 94 and a half, and he died about a year and a half ago. And he had medical problems that are none of anybody's business. And he never went to a nursing home. When he was in his late 20s, his mother and his 2 grandmothers were all widows, and there was a financial problem that's nobody's business, and he left law school and took care of them. I'm not going to put somebody like that in a nursing home. Then he referenced a story about when I was in Malaysia. I was in Malaysia for much of the 1990s, and this was in the time of the Islamic revival. Malaysia is a multicultural country, first of all, so there's Muslim people and then other races too, so you don't have to wear a veil. This is what women looked like in the 60s and 70s, okay? But then Islamic revival swept across the country, and they used to harass Malay women and white women, not Indian, and so this is what it looks like now. This is what women wear now. And for some reason, they also harassed white women, so I would walk through the streets and I would just be grabbed all the time. And I wrote about this, and he thought that this was derogatory. Then he also included some complaint about how I was wasting taxpayer funds by asking for public records. We're all allowed to ask for public records, and most of the ones I ask for are ones from public meetings that are there's no problem in getting them, and they should be put up on the website anyway.
Excuse me, was Steve Darcy holding you up to ridicule for your experiences in Malay?
Yes, for being grabbed all the time, and all the other women who were grabbed.
And that was something to use to ridicule you.
Yes, and I would,
Wow.
like, there were
Like
women
it's your
of,
fault.
it's my fault, and women of all ages
It's
where
your
this
fault
would
that you're
happen.
observing what he's doing. It's your fault that you're doing your job as a journalist. And it's your fault that you're accosted.
Yeah, it's my fault that are accosted.
Maybe it's his fault that he got arrested.
Yeah, it is. But wait, I've got to read the rest of the email because it's so bad. Then he says, you don't care what happened, and you don't care who it happened to because you want to use it for political purposes. Like, what political purposes do I have in Marshfield? I mean, to be quite frank, his tirades at the select board meeting are hilarious. They're so inappropriate that I put them up on my website. You are incredibly insincere and not subtle in the slightest. Furthermore, I have seen who you defend. I think that means Joe. And therefore, I give you zero weight and credibility to what you choose to attack. We have important work to do in Marshfield, and I'm not going to go anywhere. I don't know what important work he has to do. I forgot to send over a picture of his his Zillow, where he claims to be a relationship expert. Okay, so wait, the next
That's
part
right,
is going to
that's
be
right,
really good
that's
for
right.
relationship experts.
Yeah.
Rather than spend all of your free time, sounds like you have a lot of it. Okay, so I started a business. I was a journalist for years, and I want to be a journalist again, and I started a business. Apparently, that's my free time.
And you know what? That echoes the criticism we used to get from Maresco, who would say there are these people who are against everything we stand for, who seem to have a lot of free time to go on cable TV shows.
Right, because nobody's supposed to ask any inconvenient questions.
They're cut from the same cloth, like.
Yeah, we had that happen in Duxbury. So I am bitching and complaining online, just like Joe said, about your town government and other towns and presenting yourself as an expert on everything. So I read a lot and find out about things. I guess that's also a crime. Pull papers and run for local office. Okay, so the whole point is to have an outside watchdog looking at what people in office do. That's a key part of our system. Do something that will actually help your community. Okay, so again, like Joe, I'm helping the community. You won't do that, however, because then you would actually have to be accountable for something. Well, I am. If I write lies, everybody's gonna be accountable. You're just another internet troll. Okay, I've written covers for Institutional Investor and magazine, and I was the Southeast Asian correspondent for the South China Morning Post, who would turn to stone if she stepped out in the light of day.
Wow.
Okay? Do you think that's a good example for the Boy Scouts?
Wow.
And then he goes, I strongly urge you to find a hobby or
Whoa.
schedule an appointment as soon as possible with a local mental health provider. Good day, Steve. So, Marshfield, my message to you is, it's your business who you vote for, but if you guys decide that you're going to vote for Lynn Fiddler, who I don't think is a bad person, but she rules with this guy, Steve, then you're going to have this guy, Steve, half in control of your government. And he sounds like a sociopath, to be quite frank. I can't imagine writing a note like that to somebody, especially after I told him about the 3 kids who died. And I mean, can you just imagine the trauma? Like, my father's trauma is nothing compared to the trauma of the parents of the kids who died. But can you imagine having to go through something like that for so long and working so hard to fix it over so many years? So anyway, I wrote him back. I said to him, Dear Stephen, other than supporting sexual assault, opposing requests for public records from public meetings, and wanting 90-year-olds with multiple health problems to go to nursing homes, is there anything you would like to say about your drunk driving arrest in Duxbury? Well, he's going to be at the court in Plymouth on 9 a.m. on Friday. So I encourage everybody to go there and see what happens. I'm not really sure what happens in the next, is he going to be tried at that point? Do you know?
I don't know if they actually had a full arraignment. I don't know what the purpose of this court date is on Friday morning.
Well,
it could be maybe he's going to enter a plea of some sort. Obviously, he's had to have been talking to an attorney, and the attorney's probably been talking to the prosecutor behind the scenes. So maybe they've come to some sort of agreement. It's anybody's guess.
Well, I would hope that as an elected official who holds himself up as an example to everyone, I would hope that he would get off less lightly than other people if this is his first time with his drunk driving arrest. You can go to jail for up to 2 years for drunk driving arrests. having the limit being so far over the legal limit as has been reported in the paper and in the police report, and then driving into a police car, that's a really serious matter, and I think it should be taken very seriously.
And we don't know how he got to that point where he was stopped. Did anything happen along the way? That's also, people are asking that question. I mean, if he was in such bad condition, how did he get to that point in Duxbury? Where was he coming from? Was he with somebody? There's so many questions. It's like, it's like so many things that happen in this town, or even in Duxbury, we're all left guessing.
We are left guessing. I have filed some public records requests. I haven't gotten anything back, so I don't want to speculate about what happened beforehand, but I'm trying to find out what happened beforehand. But I don't think it's appropriate for somebody who is a public official to go through something like this and not to resign. They've lost their moral authority to be in office.
And yet he's quick to strike out and attack and berate and criticize other people. I mean, what we just saw tonight, I could play you multiple clips of him in action, so to speak.
Right, and that was because people are cheering, which is a normal thing to do at a political event.
Yeah.
It's not normal to risk somebody's life by driving drunk and then going into a police car with your car because you forgot to put it in park. But he's, allegedly.
Right, everything is alleged.
It's all
innocent
alleged.
until proven guilty. Okay, but I don't know when a police report comes out. We have seen some, or we've heard some elements of what the police have documented. I haven't seen an actual police report yet. But when it comes to getting information, it's interesting. We've been talking about the town administrator leaving, and actually Christine did write an article, again, duxbury.substack.com, and you titled it The Moresco Mystery in Marshfield. That's dated April 15th. People, as you have been doing, have been sending in public records requests for Moresco's contracts, Moresco's separation agreement, Moresco's resignation letter, and people have also made requests for the executive session minutes that dealt with Moresco. I looked at the town hall website, the town hall page that deals with public records requests, and I don't want to get off the topic of what you're talking about. It is related. It's about accountability and transparency during a very sensitive, heated political election cycle. And a request for Moresco's contract was answered with the phrase, "We've already given that to you."
I tried to find it. I was like, I knew it was on there someplace. And what everybody likes to do is they get really mad, and so they send me pieces of things, and I can't use them because I can't prove where they are
right.
from.
You can't document the source.
And then I'm like, where did you get that? And they just sent it to me because they were mad and they felt like telling somebody, and so then I can't find it. So then to find it, you've got to spend like an hour going through the website, which I didn't have an hour to go spending through the website to find the contract.
And another request was for the executive session minutes,
Yeah.
and that was filed, I want to say April 11th, possibly as late as the 14th. But if it was the 14th, they're due tomorrow. But what's in the box that describes the status of the request, it says in progress.
Oh, you know what you
In
guys should
progress.
do? You should, because often they will, especially for a meeting like that, they'll tape it, and so they'll have a audio tape. So you should ask for the audio tape.
Well, I think when you request for any record, that should include any videography or audio. Maybe not.
No, you've got to ask for the audio tape that they
Okay.
use to make the minutes.
Okay. So again, it sounds like maybe things are at least on the cusp of being overdue, because other things that were asked more recently have not been have been fulfilled. Other requests have been fulfilled, and I have gone around. I can tell from my own experience. I have gone around and around and around the mulberry bush with this town hall, and because Moresco's gone, does not mean it's a new day at Town Hall.
Right.
Because he has left his trail, and he has left his appointees, and he has left the whole power structure, which behind him includes the town council and the other council that we have. They're all part of the same circle. And to this day, and Lynn Fiddler is, to me, part of that same circle. Lynn Fiddler, to this day, I think even she denied it on in her debate participation last night. She denied that the town council is in any way a business partner with her, that he's just like an estate consultant or something like that to her mom's estate. But why do their names show up on so many real estate related notifications and filings? I mean, I don't have the information.
Oh,
right in front of
somebody
me.
sent them to me. There were like a dozen.
Yeah, there's like a dozen business deals or transactions that they're all involved in. And it looks like more than just being an estate advisor.
Right. I have to say,
What's up with that?
I just don't understand. I don't know if this is too far off topic. I don't understand why your town council is so involved in your politics. Usually there's like a town council, you call him in once in a while. Like, why does he go to the select board meetings?
Well, he bills us for every minute he's at a meeting, he's billing us. When he goes to a town meeting, we get a bill from him for like $870 or something like that.
But it's not just that. He's constricting what the select board can do or micromanaging them. I was watching your trial, and he was saying that
he was an active participant.
He was an active participant,
Prosecutor.
But he was saying that the select board shouldn't go into town hall and find out what's going on with the employees, which I found was so weird, because the same week all the select board members in Duxbury were talking about there's some concern about what's going on in town hall, so they're all going in to find out what's going on. And we have a town manager, which is supposed to be like more hands-off than a town administrator. So it seems very, very weird.
Right. So, and again, some of us do track the activities of these people, including the town administrator and the town council. Town council, well, he's the son of a preceding town council. His dad was town council. And then a fellow named Mr. Marzelli became town council, who always proclaimed that I consider myself to be the people's council. And in my opinion, no, he was the council for the people in charge, the people in control. He wasn't the council for the people. It's too bad I have a letter. Here we go. When Bob, speaking of Bob Galvin, when he was appointed after Mr. Marzelli retired, back in, when was this? What year was this? Well, there was a letter Mary Jane Hanron for the Marshfield Mariner wrote about, quote, Town Clerk Patricia Pico administered an oath to newly named Town Council Robert W. Galvin at the Monday, September 17th Board of Selectmen's meeting. Okay? Galvin, 41, the elder Robert Galvin, 41 years earlier, had taken that same pledge. Now his son is stepping up. The oath was a natural step to follow since the board's unanimous appointment of Galvin on Thursday, September 13th, following a months-long search for a new town council. And it came right down to Bob, who was right there and sitting in the back row all along. Attorney Robert Marzelli retired in June after filling the role for 31 years. Was it 31 years? That long? Wow. I chose to settle back here because I love the people of the town, our history, our town government, our beaches, and our town of villages, Mr. Galvin said. There were other finalists, and there were law firms that were finalists. I've always been a proponent of a law firm.
Yeah, we have a law firm. It's much better.
You have
No
a
offense.
Koppelman?
We have KP Law, and we have like different people will come in, and they have specialties in different things, and it's better that they're not so invested in the town. It's like they don't have an official position at the town. They just advise us. They're not in charge of anything.
Yeah. Anyway, so among other things in this article, and again, this was Marshfield Mariner by Mary Jane Hanron. There's a story there too, by the way. Quote, in addition to his availability as counsel, he enumerated his litigation skills and experience. A major focus of Galvin's presentation was his commitment to being present at all nights of town meeting, both spring and fall. But did they mention that he bills you while he's there? Okay. When discussing the topic of fees, Galvin said, quote, "My philosophy is a simple one. I don't like to waste time and believe in giving honest, straightforward advice up front. I think of the town's money like it was my money."
But you know,
Was there a little slip there, a double entendre, or what? What was that? How would you call? What would you call
but
that?
wait
I
a
think he
second,
does.
you missed something in there that's important. He said he was going to go to all the town meetings, and you had said to me earlier this week that you thought your town charter said that he had to go to the select board meetings. It doesn't. He only has to go to the town meetings.
Okay.
And
Well,
so he doesn't have to be there at all those meetings and charging you guys all that money for those meetings.
I've seen his bills for going to town meeting, but he's
Okay.
making it say that he's going out of his way. He's making a commitment to going
Right.
to town
A
meeting.
meeting.
Not town meetings as in select board, planning board, zoning board, et cetera.
He means town meeting.
Town meeting, annual and special town
And that's
meeting.
required in the charter. You could
Yeah.
change the charter, but it is required in the charter.
So I don't understand. I don't know if that Mary Jane made an error or if that's exactly what happened. Selectman Steve Robbins asked Galvin what he saw as the most significant issue facing the town. Galvin responded that a pending public access case concerning Rexham Beach loomed in the future. Quote, "I am aware of the beach and seawall issues, the new high school, the expansion of Route 139, and the business that are affected," he added. Well, it was the resident. Again, it goes right back to the recent select board and advisory board meetings, and it goes all the way back to when Mr. Galvin, and by the way, Mr. Galvin's on an annual contract. He can be replaced in any given year. He was talking about this issue of the beach access, but the point is that the beach access issue, like all the issues we just talked about at select board, advisory board meetings, et cetera, so many of the key, if not most of the key issues, were raised by residents, non-officials, people that just said, "I'm going to read this stuff and I have a question. Something doesn't look right to me." And that's where some of the big breakthroughs and revelations came from residents. And guess what? You think the select board members like Steve Darcy and Lynn Fiddler enjoy that kind of thing? I don't think so. You think they enjoy a world-class journalist, investigative reporter asking questions? No, it rubs them the wrong way. And that's the problem we have around here, in a nutshell.
Well, I would just, if I were Mr. Darcy and I was going to give him advice, I would not get up in front of a camera in the select board and lecture people decades older than him about how they didn't set a good example for the Boy Scouts because they were cheering at a meeting. Nobody thinks that's a bad thing.
No. And to tell you the truth, town meetings are actually pretty mild when you consider what happens in legislatures, like even in our own Congress, in our own state legislature. And I've seen select board and town meeting tapes of town meetings from other towns, around us, and I'm like, wow, we're really like, we're really the pinky crowd. We're very well behaved. Occasionally, you have to speak up, and part of the problem with speaking up is that when you're speaking in the town moderator, whether it's Jim Robinson or Mr. Gibson, Don Gibson, or Jim Fitzgerald, whoever it is, they're always trying to shut you down. Why don't they just give you a lousy 2 minutes to whistle Yankee Doodle if you want and get it out of the way? Instead of shouting, creating tension, just say, have your piece. You're entitled to have your piece. You're given 2 minutes to speak. It's not for you, Mr. Fitzgerald, to decide what's germane or what's relevant, okay, or what's within or outside the scope. People are entitled to their lousy 2 minutes, even if it's broken up into segments.
What is your point of order? I take it that we will be voting on each project At the same time or separately?
I'm not going to entertain that particular point of order at this time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to allow a presentation by each of the entities involved, and then we can address that once the presentations have been made and the advisory board has rendered its opinion.
Well, my question on the point of
Excuse
order.
me, it's not debatable. Thank you,
I'm
Mr.
not-
Parker.
I'm not-
Excuse
I
me,
have a
Mr.
question.
Farkas, please sit down. It's not debatable. That's how we're going to proceed. Mr. Points of order. Look at your rules. Thank you. It's not debatable, sir. Mr. Parkas, I'm not going to argue with you tonight, sir. Please sit down, or I will have someone sit you down.
So there you go. It comes down to like physical threats of physical violence.
This is like a petty tyrant. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, he
You
is.
should send them all on a field trip to the House of Commons in the UK. They can see what happens there.
No, this has been going on for a very long time. It's just like the bingo ball scandal, you know. It's something. It's almost every meeting something happens. Almost every single meeting something happens. And the problem is, it's a culture that's ingrained in your town government. And the only way you're going to get it out is if when good people step up and say, I am going to start giving my input. I'm going to start participating. I'm going to show up. I'm going to be civil. There you go. Town meeting Monday, April 20th. That's this coming Monday. All right, today's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday at 7 p.m. Now, this is probably going to be a two-night meeting. And one of the big items is going to happen on the second night, as far as I know, and it's the discussion of zoning changes down in Brant Rock. All right? Somebody has purchased a big chunk of the property on the west side of the Esplanade, and there are some conceptual drawings out there right now to build a big block of structure or conglomeration, I don't know how you describe it, that would contain 87 apartments, 2 stores and 2 restaurants, or 4 stores and 2 restaurants. 4 stores and 2 restaurants ago, our forefathers came to Brant Rock to cash in. No, this is the thing. They want to change the zoning, and my understanding of the zoning changes would make it easier to do something like this.
What about the flying boulders?
Oh.
I mean, seriously, that does not strike me as the best place to build 80 apartments.
Well, the boulders, I've never seen a boulder fly all the way across to the other side of the Esplanade, but what I have seen is there used to be, there was, that's probably how they built the church. They did get it. But anyway, you know what I have seen in Brant Rock?
What?
Darts. You know the blowguns, like you see the people in the jungle
Right.
that hunt monkeys and stuff
Right.
like that? Somebody for a while was shooting darts down in Brant Rock, and you'd walk down Brant Rock, and they were using the telephone poles as target practice.
Oh, geez.
And there were these big metal darts like stuck in the poles. So I haven't seen flying boulders, but I have seen evidence of flying darts. Hopefully that has stopped by now. But you raise a great point, though. The problem with Brant Rock flooding, not only is it a low elevation, but the way the seawalls are designed, crashing waves push boulders and huge volumes of water into the Esplanade, and there's really no quick way for it to drain out because it has to drain out the backside towards the Green Harbor River. And if the tide is high, the gradient is not steep enough to allow a rapid drain. Town meeting, April 28th, this coming Monday. Election, May 3rd. Christine, thank you.
Thank you.